Hi, this is Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, here to fix you and help you grow your property and your business affairs to the next level. So if you're looking for knowledge and insights about how to get involved in property, solve your problems about scalability in your property business, then do watch our 20-minute clips. We've taken them from hundreds and, thousands of videos that we've taken over the last 6 months, and we've broken them into simple chunks which can make them useful for you. So do watch and do subscribe to our YouTube channel underneath as well.
So let's use that tip number one. Take out the things which are just not working and work on the worst case. We'll use that as 2 points, but let's discuss the first thing. Lakhisingh, is that an excellent tip or is that an excellent tip? Take out the things that are not working. If you've got a remote control, got no batteries in it, you're trying to change the channel, probably right in 21 to change the battery, isn't it, Lakhisingh?
Yeah, I mean, the topic is how to start off your portfolio in 21. I mean, if you've already got one or you're trying to grow it, then I think 100%, I think you really got to be looking at the flux that's happening in 21 and looking at the worst case scenario, which all comes down to the numbers. So if you can't make the numbers work, your business is not going to work. So you got to really not be optimistic or even realistic. You really got to be pessimistic and think, okay, if I did this and that, and it didn't work, what are the implications? Because if you don't structure yourself correctly, let's say you get a property, you're going to buy it, you're going to refurbish it, you end up buying it, but you can't get the refurbished money, and it's a lot of money. Then you have to dip into your portfolio at expensive cost. Question is, what are your fallback plans, and are they realistic? Have you got a lot of those things lined up? And if you haven't, then it's a recipe for disaster.
Right. Okay. So we do agree that number one, looking at the things that don't work, really thinking hard about your business, and those things that don't work, removing them. And the second most important point being calculating everything based upon worst case scenario. But there's a problem there. A lot of that isn't based upon the economics, is it, Lakhi? It's based upon a health issue, a health warning. And I think this is the first time I've seen health issues. I mean, we've seen, mad cow disease and the bird flu and all these other things. But they've been just as damaging. This is the first time that the world has decided to put a stop on commerce per se. Commerce has been affected by health to the extent that there is no commerce. So what's the next tip then, Lakhi, for your portfolio in 21 for growing it?
I think everything comes down to planning. So I think you got to plan what you're doing. And so I think in order to plan, I think there's 2 points here. I think it's having a analysis of really what's happening out there. So there's 2 points. So one is probably having a comprehensive three-dimensional understanding of your personal strengths and weaknesses in terms of what you're strong at, what you're not strong at, and then understanding what the opportunities and threats are in the market, because and they're two different things. So your individual strengths will dictate really how you go and operate and actually roll out your business. So if you're not strong in the numbers, but you're good at relationships, you've got to then counter that. Or if you're good at delivery and implementing, you're very hands-on. Or are you very strategic? You don't like to be doing things, but you need to get other people to do them. Which way around are you? So I think understanding that internally within yourself is really important. And the second bit is opportunities and threats. I think it's important that you understand what the opportunities in the markets are, which are external to you. So opportunities could be, if interest rates go up, a lot of people were going to have to sell their properties. So you're going to maybe be able to get cheaper properties to buy this year if interest rates go up. So you're going to have to, become more cash rich to be able to buy assets or get liquidity. So then the threats obviously are things that are quite evident at the moment.
Okay, so what's the next point we should take? Should we say a SWOT analysis? Is that what we say is another point? Okay, so we said calculating worst case. That's just like putting least numbers across the spreadsheet. So I think we both agree on that. Mary, NC, FEM, what do you understand by a SWOT analysis? Have you conducted one? Are you doing one for the 21? Or are you still just looking at worst case scenario? Because that will cover
obviously in what's happening at the moment, there'll be massive opportunities, and us as propertypreneurs, or whatever you want to call us, or Lakhi, an entrepreneur, we're always looking for opportunities. So I've actually been investing more in the markets, in trading, than in property. So
excellent. Okay, a bit of a trader.
You have to kind of pivot into other businesses at these times, I feel sometimes. If you may be looking into an online business that you didn't think of before. So yeah, I think it's really it's tying down what you've got and making it work as well as it can, getting rid of any dead weight, and obviously creating and growing new opportunities, because the world has changed. So you've got to change. You can't keep doing what you were doing. You have to change, really. So it's a time of great change. But you've got to be totally aware in your business, outside your business. You've got to be aware of what's happening.
Okay, being aware inside, I think both MTFEM and Lakhi Singh, Propertyfixer, both are using inside and outside and inside. Bit of a confusion there for me. Trying to work out what does that mean. Lakhi Singh, when you do SWOT analysis and you look at opportunities and you look at strengths and you look at weaknesses, how do you look at things externally and internally? If you look at things externally, you just don't know how long covert's going to be around for, because it's an unknown entity. So start looking at things externally and looking at all the factors that stop business happening. I mean, everything now is in lockdown. It's tier 4, and you're using the word curfew. It's really drastic, but that's probably what it is. It's probably a soft, I could call it a soft curfew, something that's been done subtly under the radar. It's not involving the military or the police, but it is involving legislation that's giving authority to the enforcement officers to make sure that people adhere to those laws. So it is like a semi-curfew, you could call it that. So how do you look at things and put them in perspective and balance? Because you could quite easily do an external analysis and say, well, hang on, the market is totally dead at the moment, and it's going to stay this way for another 3 or 4 months. What can I do when the market is closed? Is it more to do with diversification? Is that the way to counter external forces, like Mary suggested? She does a bit of online trading. So do you start looking at things that would be regarded as diversifying your interests or your activities? How do you do that, Lakhi? What do you do? What's more important? Is it external or internal?
So I think what happens is with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, they each have their place. So if let's say you got 10 threats in the market, normally it's there's this acronym called PEST-WELK. So it's political, economic, sociological, technological, legal, climate, economy. So all these, I can't remember the acronym off the top of my head, but it's all those sort of things. So you've got to look at all of those and look at really what the pest wealth, yeah. So political, economic, sociological, technological, legal, weather, economy. I can't remember the C at the end. So this is what we studied in marketing about 30 years ago. I did a diploma in marketing. So you got to look at the threats from those point of view, from opportunity and threat. So for every threat, there's probably the opposite of that as well. So if you've got a crash in the economy is a potential thing around the corner, then the opportunity is going to be a buying opportunity. Then you may have lack of buy-to-let funding because banks are being very slow in lending now. If you want to buy, it's taking 3 to 6 months, maybe even 7, 8 months to actually buy anything now, because by the time you've got your offer out, and if there's a small glitch in your sale, then your offer's actually gone out of the window. So you have to become quite cash rich to be able to close a lot of deals. So you've got lots of threats like that. Then the opposite side of it is the opportunity. So you need to actually look at the opposite situation from the threat and see really what the opportunities could be coming out of it. So technically, for example, Mary may think, okay, well, there's going to be a huge financial gap in the market. I'm going to work with 3 international banks now who've got, who are willing to lend out money. I could become a money lender, even a mortgage provider that does mortgages within 4 weeks. And I could do commercial lending, which is not highly regulated. So she could become a bridger, lend the money and make very good money by just realizing how the market's going to change.
So MC Fem Bridger, that sounds a long title. Can you see yourself as a bridge? Can you see yourself doing that, opening like your arms up for people to walk through and then closing your arm? Is that what we understand of being a bridger? Are you sort of pretending to be like a gatekeeper to money? Would you be standing around doing this and that all day, opening the gates up of your bridge? What do you think? Can you see yourself as a bridging lender then? MC?
No. Maybe in the future. Obviously, there is a lot of people bridging, private lending. It's massive, yeah, because of the length of time it's taken to get lending, and it's just destroying a lot of deals. So yeah, I can see why Lakhi is saying that. Absolutely, I think that will grow. That side will grow, definitely.
Yeah, I think there's a demand that there will become, or there is one, which is it's agreeable. So okay, Lakhi, tell us next point, the next tip for success in 21 for growing your property portfolio. What's the next thing?
Well, it goes back to the point I've just made, which is having access to finance. Having access to finance.
Yeah.
So having your finance structured in a way that allows you to raise funds easily. So the speed of finance, I would say, is really critical.
Speed of finance. Okay, that sounds fast. Yes. MC Fem, what do you say? What type of speedy finance are you going to be planning out for? So if you see a deal or you go to a project, because I know the nature of your work is more interior design and focused around branding. I think that's what we spoke about last time we came on. You've got a very unique idea of trying to transmit the brand icon across an asset, whether it's a HMO or it's a multi-let occupation or one of those flats a block of flats, you look at creating an entity there that reflects the company. Can you see your requirement for these projects to be quick money or the ability to have liquidity fast, or do you rely upon your cash reserves or the client paying their fees up front for the work you do? How do you work your model? Are you changing your model to adapt with 21?
Well, yeah, obviously I'm still a property owner, still looking to find deals and buy property. It's going to come back to the foundation of relationships you've built, so that you can get access to more funds. But that has to come from obviously people trusting you. So I think people will, there will be private lending, but they obviously will be looking for, guarantees on that, personal guarantees, that type of thing. And again, it comes back to probably your track record. I've come through quite a lot of property crises, world crisis, the huge downturn 2008-9, still given investors returns, always. So, and how have you behaved this year in paying private investors? It comes down to your history, really. You've got to have a good history right now, I feel, to but then people are accessing their pensions, and people will still find money. There is a lot of money out there, a lot of investors out there, but again, I think it will come back to much more personal relationships, and track record will win out. And I think it's seen as a lot more high risk at the moment, lending. So yeah, especially because of end valuations and stuff like that in property. So yeah, we'll have to see. We're trying to see what the year ahead's going to forecast, but you have to make.
How do you
no matter what climate is, really.
What type of advice are you giving them for the way you're going to plan out 21? Are you going to break everything down in quarters or monthly or suck it and see formula? How's it going to work?
I always work to a 12-week plan.
A quarter, yeah?
I follow the 12-week plan, which makes you 4 times more productive, apparently. Yeah, I run my business to a 12-week plan. There's a book written about it. It's got a philosophy behind it. I find that, for me, the most effective.
Excellent. So you do it in pockets of 12 weeks, and that makes. And do you have a strategic position? Before you answer that question, a big shout out for Smith. We've got John Smith. We've got Mandy. We have Amar Ali and nobody else. Okay. Good morning to all of you. What about, say, we've crossed the 1,500 mark in terms of members, and obviously we've got a growing number of YouTube audience, people watching us on YouTube. So yeah, let's go across, before you answer that question, let's go across to Lakhi and ask him, how do you do your planning, sir? Do you do it in quarters now because of the risk, or do you do it in a strategic management of a goal? Do you attempt to get those critical points covered in those goals? How do you, and is what Mary is doing, is that the right way to do it?
Yeah, I think having a 12-week plan. Did you say 12 months or 12 weeks?
12 weeks, Lakhi. It's a quarter.
I think 12-week plan is good. I think probably to break. I mean, I typically have like a 2-year plan, and then be reviewing it every 12 weeks. So I think it does make sense. So I think you're going to probably, and then actually be doing things on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, because certain things you can't be doing on a 12 weeks. You're going to be doing them daily to check certain funds or certain targets being hit. If they don't come in, then you've got to look at your contingencies.
Okay, So you're saying everything's going to be done with big stops, but you do have to have contingencies. So what type of have you got next for us, Lakhi Singh? What's the next tip for a successful 21 in property and the growth of property?
I think a critical one is a power team. So having, a panel of solicitors, architects, depending on your area, contractors, quantity surveyors, sourcing agent, a financial broker, a joint venture investor, maybe, having access to, if you're doing a lot of sourcing, working with solvency practitioners or receivers. So I think having a power team is critical, and I think having like a